Today, I would like to share with you some information regarding special education and what it means to me. If they can't learn the way we teach the way they learn. What does this quote mean to you? Well, to me, it means you can't always go by the book to teach a child that has a special need. You modify your plans, your lessons for a child's specific learning need. Something that I found interesting is that more boys than girls are being diagnosed with some type of learning disability. That doesn't mean that girls do not have learning disabilities, they're just going unnoticed, whereas with boys it's more prominent, more recognizable. There are different types of learning disabilities. Dyslexia is a learning disorder that involves difficulty reading due to problems identifying speech sounds and learning how they relate to letters and words. Also called a reading disability, dyslexia is a result of individual differences in areas of the brain that process language. Nonverbal learning disorder is a learning disability that causes difficulty with motor, visual, spatial, and social skills. Children with nonverbal learning disorder are often well spoken and can write well, but they struggle with subtle social cues and comprehension of abstract concepts. Oral written language disorder and specific reading comprehension deficit. These individuals often exhibit specific language impairment related to deficits in processing. A reading disability in which a person has trouble understanding the meaning of words and passages of writing. Sometimes a reading comprehension disorder is diagnosed by specialists as specific reading comprehension deficit. ADHD, otherwise known as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is a chronic condition and it includes attention difficulty, hyperactivity, and impulsiveness. ADHD often begins in childhood and can persist into adulthood. It may contribute to low self-esteem, troubled relationships, and difficulty at school or work. Dyspraxia. Dyspraxia is a childhood developmental disorder that's marked by clumsiness in otherwise healthy kids. Developmental coordination disorder may occur alone or with other developmental disorders. Even though special education laws don't extend to kids past high school, when they go on to college, they do still have help, such as certain modifications on a test or extended time on a test. There are certain computers that have the capability of reading these tests to them. So, although the laws may not give each student in college a specific person to help them, there are other accommodations that will aid them in their college education. When you have special education kids, first you need to assess the student's skills and determine their specific educational need. Students that have learning disabilities are complex learners, and teachers have to fully understand their specific strengths and needs. Special education teachers are knowledgeable regarding assessment, and they are skilled in using and interpreting that data. That may include standardized assessments in order to have a specific education program for that child. One of the second steps with special education is to adapt general lesson plans to meet students' needs. Sometimes modifying the lesson plan for special education means using a multimodal approach to learning. Teachers should be aiming to present the information not only in more basic terms to make it easier for students to comprehend, but also using different strategies to reach all types of learners, whether they be visual or auditory, meaning they hear, or kinesthetic, hands-on learning. Again, I mentioned earlier about the individualized education programs, IEPs, for each student. This must be designed for each individual student. This is a document that is well written out that lists all of the modifications, the child's specific learning disability. This is a cornerstone of the quality education for each child with a disability. In the public schools today, about 15% of the children require special education in one form or another. In the U.S., students that receive education for a reading disorder make up 3.5% of our U.S. students. Kids applying for college report about 19% having a disability. Right now in our schools, you can just about average one teacher per 17 students. Now, some of these classes do have a parapro, such as I am, and we help out with certain things with the kids, maybe standing beside not each, but different times taking turns with kids to kind of keep them on track or be there for them to be able to ask questions or help them if they do not understand something. The percentage of students that have a speech or language impairment make up about 19%. And the percentage of kids that have ADHD make up about 9%. And I mentioned earlier about special education students going on for a higher education of some sort. That makes up about, more than half of the special education students. There are three keys to special education. You need to assess the student's skills to determine their specific educational need. Make a plan that is specific for them. Adapt the lesson plans to meet their needs. Follow their individualized education program and make the correct modifications for that child to help them be able to succeed. Every student can learn, just not in the same day or even in the same way.